And hello, everybody. After about a 2-month hiatus, I'm back little by little. I'm happy to share some reflections on this coming Sunday's Gospel, on the 19th of the church year. And it's Jesus walks on water. And so let's look at it today. And the Gospel is from Matthew again, chapter 14, beginning verse 22, 33. After he had fed the people, Jesus made the disciples get into a boat and precede him to the other side while he dismissed the crowds. After doing so, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. When it was evening, he was there alone. Meanwhile, the boat, already a few miles offshore, was being tossed about by the waves, for the wind was against it. During the fourth watch of the night, he came toward them walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. At once Jesus spoke to them. "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." Peter said to him, he replied, "Lord, if it's you, command me to come to you on the water." He said, "Come." Peter got out of the boat and began to walk on the water toward Jesus. But when he saw how strong the wind was, he became frightened and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught Peter and said to him, "Are you of little faith? Why do you doubt?" After they got into the boat, the wind died down, and those in the boat did him homage, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." Again, there's one of the miracles that Jesus did, and it's found in Mark, Luke, and John. All of this Jesus walking water, as in Matthew, comes after the feeding of the 5,000. That was right before this passage here. This followed the passage of Jesus feeding 5,000. And that's how it seemed. That has seemed to be the sequence that it was. I'll follow that. Now, Matthew has the longest of Jesus walking in the water, because he has Peter walking in the water, at least for a while, as well. Interesting, though, is that Jesus made the disciples get into a boat and proceed to him the other side while he dismissed the crowds. I share this on my take 2, but Jesus made them get into the boat. Sometimes we think when we have problems in life or struggles, it's because that, well, we're being punished, that we did something wrong, and these are the consequences. Therefore, God has sort of removed his favor, his blessing, on our life. But here, they did nothing wrong. In fact, they were obedient. They got in the boat like Jesus told them. So, not all our struggles that we go deal with in life is because we sin or have messed up. Sometimes storms are part of life. And Jesus went up to the mountain by himself to pray. Jesus, of course, was a man of prayer, deep prayer, and he loved to be alone, often the mountain, because mountain was, in a sense, where they felt sort of closest to God and needed alone time. We all need to be quiet at times. We all need to be by ourselves. It's healthy. You can't keep running around. And one of the dangers of trying to be alone now, or things that try to attract us from being quiet, is the phone or computer. It's constantly on our mind and calling to us. And I'm guilty of as anyone. I can spend time in prayer and a thought runs to my head, something, and let me check or something. All right? It's really has a hold on us. And so we got to be careful of that sometimes we just need to be quiet. We have the Adoration Chapel, and sometimes I think people make a mistake and have tried now to bring in maybe the headphones, listening to something. You have to be able to sit still in silence and quiet. Not easy. We have a restless spirit. In fact, if you have a conversation with somebody, you remain quiet for 4 seconds, see what effect that has upon them. They get restless, antsy, uncomfortable. We have to fill that. But Jesus was a man who was able to be quiet, to be still, to be with himself. Well, anyway, so with that taking place, then I guess he gets sense that the storm is coming on the sea, and out in the Sea of Galilee, which is no small, lake. Lake of Galilee is like 7 miles wide. And so he goes on the fourth watch at night, which for them would be between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. I recall reading, it says those hours, particularly those late hours between 3 and 6, it seems to be when the evil spirits were at their strongest. All right? That's when things would be the most, troubling, those 3 to 6 hours. I think it's part of the reason why the monks, those who give their life to prayer, throughout the day, the morning, evening, and night, and then early in the morning, it's right around this time as well, when no one, when the world may be asleep, those who will be troubled, the power of prayer, seeking God's intercession. So Jesus comes walking in the water, and they saw him as we see them, and they say, "My God, it's a ghost." Now, you can't blame them being frightened. One, the wind and the waves. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be out in the ocean or the lake or anywhere where there's storming, This is not Lake Lillian here in Bellevue. This is sort of like a river, like somewhat of an ocean away for us, would be that strong. I myself, I can swim fairly well, but when I go to the beach, I don't like going water over my head. I don't go too far out. Now there's sharks, but I just don't want to go over water. I just don't trust it. I want to be able to, touch the bottom there. I ain't going over my head. There's something for me. I don't take chances. So imagine what it'd be like being in a boat or being tossed about. That'd be frightening, deadly frightening. But the fear also is not merely because of the storm, which in itself will be sufficient. But the Jews, back then, they really weren't people of the sea. They were nomads, farmers, but they weren't people very comfortable with water, even though we have fishermen. So they were a little bit fearful of it. They respected it. But also the idea that the waters below has these, perhaps the dwelling of evil spirits and some of these false gods as well. And that's where it dwells also in the depths. So it's not just the natural, causes of fear, but even that spiritual sense of the evil one lurks there. So it's almost, when you see Jesus, it'd be understandable that they think it's a ghost. It's dark, windy, so they really can't see clearly. All right? So then Peter calls out, "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come." Now, it's funny. Let me take this, He said, "Lord, if it's you, command me to come to you in the water." That's an interesting request. I think I would have said, "Lord, if it's you, command the wind and the waves to stop." I'm not asking you to have me walk in the storm. We want the storm to stop. Isn't that what we often pray for? What we pray for. We have troubles or problems. We want God to take care of it, fix it, remove it. But now but this prayer request is almost, help me go through the storm, walk in the storm. Don't remove it, but give me the ability to deal with it. And so I don't know if he has regret when he said that, because Jesus maybe surprised him and said, "Okay, come." Whoa. To walk on the water. Now, not only to test Jesus is supernatural, being God, but also those who follow the rabbi, the disciples which they were, the belief, the conviction that you who follow the rabbi would be able to do what the rabbi does. All right? So those disciples were convinced that you'll be able to do whatever the rabbi does, you can. And so they see in the gospel, they're healing, right? Later they'd be preaching, because this is Jesus did. He healed, we will heal. In fact, they're surprised sometimes when they couldn't heal some people. And they ask, "What happened? You did it, why can't we?" And Jesus explained, "Well, only by prayer and fasting." So this is also part of it. They believe because he could do it, they can do it. So Peter gets out and he starts walking, and all of a sudden he gets so close. And then the wind becomes too strong and begins to sink, because as Jesus reached out, so he had to be almost right there. Right there, he almost made it. And Jesus saves him. He just says, "Hey, take courage, it is I." But the other translation says, "Courage, I am." Not "it is I," but "I am." Why is that significant? Because you remember when way back with Moses, the burning bush, is who shall I say sent me? What is your name? I am. It's the name of God. And therefore Jesus is claiming that his divinity right then and there, I am. And he gets in the boat and it calms down, the waves calm down, and they prostrate themselves. The only time they use that word, the Greek word for prostrate, was in the fourth chapter, when the devil says, "Jesus, you prostrate towards me and you could, the world be yours." So anyway, it's just a lot going on there. So what can we take from this? One, we have to be able to be people of prayer like Jesus. Be comfortable in silence. Be silenced to hear what's the inner voice of God speaking to us. 3, when you're not to blame God when things don't go well in our life. We're not being punished. 4, ask God not merely to take the problems away, but maybe, Lord, help me go through it, help me grow, help me learn, strengthen me to face my storms in my life. And finally, fifth, was really realize that Jesus is always with us. Even in the waves, even in the storm, he will not abandon us. God bless you.